Guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today we are going to talk about alignment. I think that's the umbrella of today's episode, because last week, and obviously the weeks leading up to, there were a lot of things like to think about and experience and explore, but also learn from. And it all comes back to either are you bringing yourself into alignment or are you taking yourself out of it? All right. So stay tuned and get some water. Put on your seatbelt. Let's go along for the ride. All right. Stay tuned. Guys, what's goody? How are you? How's everything? Special shout out to all the patrons. Yeah, I'm exhausted, y'all. If you can't tell, like I have such a brain fog. And I usually have a schedule for when I get up, I record the podcast. Like I get up, I shower, brush my teeth, record the podcast. And today instead, I got up, showered, did a little face scrub, exfoliated, just really took my time and took time on my skin, right? And just really took care of myself, before I recorded, before I sat down to record. And it felt great, right? It felt great. And, I know a lot of times when I do things, or if I'm not on routine, I kind of get a little bit unnerved because I'm like, oh shit, I'm running out of time and all these things, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Like I'm always gonna get the things done that I said I'm gonna get done. So why trip, right? And I was just trying to think about it, like being in alignment with yourself, and what does that look like in all aspects of you? I remember when I first started recording this podcast, I would vacuum, right? My routine consisted of me vacuuming, like cleaning the workspace, lighting a candle, doing a face scrub. Like that was my podcast day, and it felt amazing. And then over time, I stopped doing that for one reason, or like practical stuff. I didn't have carpet, so there was no need for me to vacuum. But I just kind of switched gears because now it was just me jumping up to get ready and do what I needed to do versus do what needs to be done for me first, like what that looks like. And, when we talk about alignment, you have to ask yourself, am I doing all of what I do for others, or is this fulfilling for me too? Right? Knowing the distinction and the difference between the two is, I think, very important. And it just kind of brings you back to self. It lets you know who you are. Onto that, I talked about in the previous episode, I talked about the villain era, right? People having their villain era, people wanting to be villains, people not wanting to care as much, people wanting to have the freedom of being ferocious without the accountability that comes with that. That takes you out of alignment, okay? You trying to be careless and callous and cool and all that, if that's not you, that will never be you. And You trying to become that is you constantly forcing yourself out of your natural mode of operation. So you take yourself out of alignment, and what you do is kind of like a train, like going down a railroad, right? And you know those little like there's a switch to make the train go on a different path. That is what we do sometimes when we are forcing ourselves to be other than what we are, or do things that don't necessarily align with who we are. People, places, things. And, it derails you, and you continue to go on this track, right? You don't necessarily go off the tracks completely. Like, there's still another track you're following. But that track in itself doesn't necessarily benefit you, right? It feels weird. It doesn't feel good on you, right? So the villain era, just touching on that, there's so many components to it, but I think it's just people who have been tired of being mistreated and mishandled, or again, forcing relationships into their lives, right? Because accountability, let's talk about it. If you are constantly on the receptive end of mistreatment, maltreatment, being taken advantage of, at some point in time, you have to ask yourself, even as an adult, what hand do I have in this give and take? Okay. What hand do I have in this give and take? What does that look like for me? Because it can't be everybody else, just everybody else. Right? There is participation on our end. I always say there's definitely participation, even for me. Like, there's participation on my end. And these connections that I've had in past tense there's participation for me. Why? Because either I denied my reality to be okay, or to make other people feel okay with how they handle me, or seeking to exist in space that I don't belong in, forcing alignment. When you are trying to be a part of a group that you are not meant to be a part of, it will always be forced friction, and there will always be some kind of conflict, whether the conflict is on the surface or whether it's internal. That is an indication that you are out of alignment. And the more you start healing yourself, right, the more you start taking ownership about the work you need to do to take care of yourself, you start to align a little bit better with what's yours and what's not. Okay? Like I said, something as simple as me, like, doing a facial cleanse and scrub and exfoliate my skin today. And mind you, I do this. Like, I'll, come home from the gym, exfoliate my face, and I'm good. Like, I make sure to, I'm big on skincare. Shout out to the fellas that are big on skincare. Like, take care of your face, take care. That's your face. And that's something you have to look at every day. So take care of it. And it's yours, I would do that, go to the gym, come home, scrub my face, whatever the case may be. But it's a difference between just doing it because it's routine, and doing it because this feels good. Getting it over with versus, like, going through your process, right? Taking your time. And I did that this morning before I recorded. Like, I'm recording an hour later, but I don't feel bad about that. I've been tired, and I've been, like, trying to do a bunch of shit. And it's cool because, I started writing again. I started writing my horror stories. That's me coming back into alignment. Why? Because it's easy. And easy in the sense of, like, this feels easy on my spirit to do right now. This feels easy. And also, too, it's opening up space for me to create with my friends, right? It's something I can do that I'm in control of, that can cultivate space and create space and plant seeds for the things that I'm seeking and that I want. That's how you get back into alignment. You start doing the things, you do the organic things for yourself, right? And you can only figure that out when you stop worrying about what other people are going to think about you or what you do, or you not wanting to really fuck with them anymore. One of the little tidbits I'll give you And this is a key component in what alignment looks like. And this is a very specific example. You know those people that are like, yeah, I'm bad at texting, or I'm bad with communication, I'm terrible at it. And let's say communication is very important to me. Communication is important to me. Not frequent, but consistency, like a level of consistency in your patterns. I value, I respect, and I hold in high regard. So let's say somebody comes along, they're like, yeah, I'm such a bad texter and I'm a bad communicator. But for some reason, you recognize they're usually on their phone, right? They're almost always on their phone when you're around, or just in essence, they're on their phone. But they're a bad texter, a bad communicator, whatever the case may be. Putting yourself out of alignment looks like this. You continue to try to cultivate a substantial relationship with a person who is not holding up to their end of the bargain in the relationship. That takes you out of alignment, and also that encourages some form of resentment. The reason why is because you continue to communicate with this person how you usually would. And if you value communication and you're not on the receptive end of that, you start to feel some type of way. Now, this person told you early on exactly who they were and how they move. You decided to not listen to that, right? You decided to not listen to that. You heard what you wanted to, right? That takes you out of alignment. The reason why is because later on you start to feel some type of way, like, well, I feel like I'm the only one trying. I'm the only one doing this. Well, yeah, you are. That's true. But they told you very early on who they were. It is not your obligation to pick up the slack of a person that's not willing to show up. I repeat, it is not your obligation to pick up the slack of a person that is not willing to show up. If somebody says they're bad at communication, somebody says they're a poor texter, yada, 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 whatever the case may be, they're not giving a solution to be better. They're just saying, hey, this is more of a declaration. I'm not good at this. Fuck it, bet. You're not good at something that's important to me. You're not good at something that I value, which means that I'm not good having you in a position to be responsible for these things that I value and I hold in high regard. The reason why is because there's going to be some friction. It's going to take me out of alignment, right? So to stay in alignment with who you are and to not be, burdened with, these feelings of despair, mismatched relationships, listen to people. Be a good listener. Become a very good listener. And I'm not saying become paranoid. No, it's a big difference, because I don't exist on this element of paranoia. I listen to people and I observe people. I observe myself, right? It's not like a test study. For me, what I've understood is this: life is short, life is fragile. Yes, we all know. But people only say that when somebody's on their deathbed, right? And you have to forgive this person for all the shit that they put you through. Well, I apply it into everyday life. My life is short. My life is very fragile. My life does not have room for everything and anything and everyone, which means that I am not going to continue to cultivate relationships with somebody whose relationship I have with them. It's more of me pouring my life into them and I'm not getting anything in return. It's more of me reaching out to them. Maybe they'll get back to me, maybe they won't. I really don't know. Like I can't develop a bond on that. I cannot develop foundation on somebody's fucking maybe. Like a shadow person, you know what I'm saying? They come in and out, they swoop in and out. Like if that's who you are, I have to put you in that space. And what that means is I don't really have space for you. That's for me. That's my life. Other people are cool with that. That's other people. I will never necessarily tell somebody, hey, be like me. No, do what works for you, but understand what works for you so you can stay in alignment. Once I started understanding who people were early on, there was less for me to trip about. Why? Because I kept them where they belong versus trying to place them where I wanted them to be. Right? I kept them where they were willing to work to be versus me trying to put them in a corner office of my life. I leave them in a mailroom or they're a temp. All right. That's just who they are. Temp behavior. Okay. Alignment means recognizing your ability to make decisions, have discernment, and also hold yourself accountable for the relationships you're cultivating or the things that you're doing. And I know this is a little bit harder, but when it comes to the workspace, it's like sacrifices will need to be made in one way or another, right? But I want you to understand something. Every job is a job. And sometimes we have this loyalty to our workspaces that we are not on the receptive end of. You want to show them that you're a good worker, whatever the case may be. Heaven forbid something was to happen to you tomorrow. They still need to keep that job functioning, right? So whether you're able to make it to work or not, they will find somebody to replace you. Okay? So you have to think about things in that space too. Like there's only one of you. There is only one of you. And you have to take care of yourself. And alignment just looks like, a lot of times being brave, cutting the bullshit, trimming the fat, cutting your own bullshit, right? Trimming your own fat, like doing things that are uncomfortable to exist in spaces of comfort. Also, stop telling people your business. I have very few people that know what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis. I don't even know what I'm up to most days. That's how I think autonomous I can be. And I could post on social media all day. And it's not fraudulent. It's not me posting the reels and highlights of my life, yada, yada, yada. But I don't allow people access to everything. The reason why is because not all people have your best intentions. Some people are just intrusive and nosy, right? A lot of people are intrusive and nosy. A lot of people want to know what you're up to, so maybe they can do the same thing, get inspired by, take your content, they want to work smarter and not harder. So they'll take your hard work and be shrewd about how they present it as their own, right? Or try to throw a wrench into your shit sometimes. Energy is a real thing, and somebody does not have to physically harm you to be physically or emotionally harmful to you or energetically harmful to you. So, be mindful of the company that you keep. Be mindful of the information that you're sharing. And before you start sharing things that are personal to you, that are important to you, ask yourself, why? Why am I telling this person that? Is this person somebody I feel safe sharing good news with, right? And good news is an umbrella term for people you just feel safe with, right? Let that be your driving force. Have more discernment. And again, the goal is to not be scared and be paranoid about any and everybody, but do recognize people are people. People will be people outside of your influence, and you have to understand that. And the sooner you understand that, listen, the less disappointed you are. Why? Because you avoid these potholes. You avoid these fires, okay? And understand, again, niceness is not always kindness. There are some people out in this world who pretend to be very nice until you call them on their shit, okay? Or until they're caught out there, and then they show who they are. People break character all the time, and people are always showing us who they are, their most authentic selves, okay? So just stay aligned, make better choices for yourself. Take time with the choices that you make. If you feel that you need to sever ties with certain things or people, consider it, right? Consider it. This life is short. And if you are existing in things or existing in relationships that expedite the end of your life, then listen, you're not going to be a worse person because you decide to take better care of yourself. Actually, you're a better person. And the more you start taking care of yourself, the more you start aligning with people that are willing to do the same, because they're also taking care of themselves. And you guys can exist in some kind of harmony, alignment, right? So learn to start doing that for yourself. Really get a handle on understanding that not everybody has to like you. Just make sure you value yourself. And valuing yourself looks like, again, ownership, holding yourself accountable, not abandoning yourself for other people. All of these things matter, okay? So think about that this week. And I'll, I'm going to make, for this bonus content, I'm going to make a checklist worksheet and something that you can do actively to stay in alignment, what that looks like. All right. So with that being said, guys, take care of yourselves this week and really take care of yourselves. Give yourself a face scrub, say I love you in the mirror. Write it on a piece of paper, hit up somebody that you're close to and just check in on them. Let them know, hey, I appreciate you and I love you. Be open to being loved back. Don't go through this world just thinking that you have to give love without ever receiving it. No, be open to love. I'm not saying demand it. Be open to it and be mindful of the people that show up. Okay. But you have to be open to it. Stop being afraid of that. All right. Love y'all. Y'all be good. All right. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Also, I got something very special. Guys, make sure you follow Amber Kinney of the Hilt podcast and Key of My Curl Speak podcast, because we're doing something very dope in these upcoming weeks. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this. And I think you guys are going to get a lot from this, what it is that we're going to do. And it's a very necessary conversation, or very necessary conversations we're going to have. And yeah, you'll just be getting different perspectives and very fruitful perspectives. So with all of that, like I said, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Make sure you remind yourself this week, hey, I love you and you're doing your best. All right. Take flight.